If you are walking past vintage concert shirts at thrift stores or garage sales, you could be passing up something that might pay your car payment if you were to flip it on eBay. This is the second video in a series that I'm creating of 10 vintage categories that sell really well on eBay for a huge profit. So if you're interested, I'll link the original video that lays out which 10 categories I'm covering and the playlist. But if you're just here for concert shirts, you're in the right place. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Margaret. I've been selling on eBay, Etsy, and other platforms for well over 10 years and making videos to help you be successful at reselling as well. I've created a free PDF download for the 10 different categories, so we'll be filling it out as we go along. And if you're interested in having this list yourself, then click on the link below and download that PDF. The first shirt that we're going to talk about is Nirvana concert shirts. I know that when you go out and you're looking at thrift stores and garage sales, you might see Nirvana shirts, and there are a lot of reproductions, but I am going to share with you today some ways that you can really hone in on which ones are vintage so that you don't buy one that is just a reproduction from, say, Old Navy or Target or wherever they repurpose them, Hot Topic, and resell them with the same printing, because it can mean the difference between a $15 shirt and a $5,000 shirt, depending on what you have. I have just searched Nirvana and shirt. I didn't end up putting in tour or vintage because I wanted you to see how many are actually out there that have actually sold. So just for Nirvana shirts, we're looking at 1,900 plus sales in the last 90 days. That is a lot of Nirvana shirts that have sold. So they're definitely selling. At the moment, I have them sorted by highest first. And one thing that I like to look at, because one of the comments I do get, and I get this, people are like, oh, that's not real. That's just, people are laundering money, which I get probably happens. And then the other comment is that what are the odds that I can find this shirt or I can find this, whatever it is that we're talking about? Well, they're out there, first of all. But one of the things, and it's valid, one of the things I like to look at is it something that I'm seeing consistently sell multiple items from different sellers? So when I'm looking at this here, I can tell that this listing and this listing is likely the same seller because I can see the same background, the same title. So maybe they had multiple of them. I don't know. But then here you can see this not Nirvana heart-shaped box. Trying to zoom in for you. Shirt. This one, which sold, best offer was taken for $4,000, has also sold here, and it's a different seller. You can tell by the photography, the background, the listing, it's different. So when I'm looking, I really want to see, I'm going to scroll for a second, these three I can see are all the same person because of the pictures, probably, unless somebody sniped somebody else's pictures, which happens. So when I'm looking here, these two are probably different sellers, but I can see that's the same shirt that has sold. So if I see it consistently, like this in utero shirt, I've seen multiple times from multiple sellers. So I'm really not wanting to just show you things that are eye-catching because it's a big number, but things that are actually selling over and over. The in utero shirt is one that I'm seeing selling consistently over and over for in the thousands of dollars. And you're looking for that yellow text. You're looking for the in utero woman with the wings, the angel there. The heart-shaped box, which we talked about in the 10 categories, 10 vintage categories that are selling really well on eBay. The heart-shaped box is one that I shared there. But as I'm scrolling down, see again, this is probably the same seller, but I am seeing that in utero shirt over and over and over. And this is the year after I graduated high school. So this 1993, that's right around that. You're going to see a lot of 1990s stuff, a few other things sprinkled in, but the 90s kids, now they've got money and they're starting to buy back their childhood. So that's what's going on with the 90s. And here we've got the Nevermind shirt. I've seen a few of those. And this one, the Nirvana Silver, this one is also selling quite a bit. tips, right? Because watch, if I change this to ended recently, you're going to see that there are some shirts that look like the in utero shirt. It's got the angel. So here's one, it's got in utero, it's got the angel, it's got Nirvana, but this is not one of the concert shirts. And there are ways to tell more so than just, the name of the cities on the back of the shirt. Here are a couple more that have that in utero design on it, but these are not the concert shirts. So how can you tell? The vintage concert shirts are going to have single stitching, and I'm going to show you what that means. So when you are looking at, so here's one of these shirts, the vintage in utero. This one, and the seller is clearly showing the hem on this shirt, and it's got a single stitch, whereas like here is another one that's got the single stitch. I wanted to grab this one because you can see the outside of the shirt as well as the inside. When you're looking at a more modern shirt, it's going to have a double stitch. So you can see here that this has got those two lines. It's got that double stitching. So you can see that this Nirvana shirt sold for $13.99, and it's not one of the vintage ones that's got the single stitching. So once again, single stitch, double stitch. And before we move on to the next shirt, I wanted to show you exactly how I do my research. In eBay, in the Sellers Hub, the way you'll get to that is you'll come over to Sell over here. And then when you come to Sellers Hub, come to More and click on Research. When you select Research, this will pop up, this screen. And you can type in here, vintage concert t-shirts. And then this will pop up all of the vintage shirts that sold within the last 90 days. You can change this to 30 days, 6 months, however long you want. You can select new, pre-owned. You can filter it however you like. It'll show you the average sold price, etc., sell-through rates. And I don't necessarily go on the sell-through rate for this because it's so broad, but you can see right away which ones are selling. So here's Ozzy, and this gives me a clue. When I start saying Ozzy, guess who's coming up in a little bit, and we know why. But when I start looking at that, this is what I'm going to be looking for. Whose name or what band or whatever I'm searching for, what do I see repeating over and over? So I'm seeing Deftones, Radiohead, Live Aid, Eagles. When I do say this out loud, just as a tip, I say them out loud and then my brain will start saying, oh, you said that one already. And then, oh, you said that one already. So when I keep going, Merle Haggard, Chris Brown, Madonna, Eagles. Oh, I said Eagles earlier. So I'll go back and see, is this one that is a pattern that they're selling? What's going on with this? And then I can dive deeper. I'm going to scroll. And then I can come up here and say Eagles. And then see what pops up when I look at Eagles. Oh, and then I can see, $39. That's the average sold price. And I can come start seeing, are there any patterns there? That's how I do the research when I'm trying to find out. I've had a few people ask, how do you come up with these categories, these names? And it's not some guarded secret, because truly I want you to get out there and be successful and know what to look for. And if shirts are not your favorite thing and you want to start looking up used hairbrushes that sell on eBay, then you can go do that too, or whatever it is that's your passion to sell. You can dive in here and see what is selling right now so that you can really hone in more on what to look for when you're out thrifting. And it always changes. It's always changing. The second shirt on our list is Oasis. This is the second one that I shared in the 10 vintage categories that sell on eBay. Oasis is getting back together to start touring again. And so this is another reason that there's a big resurgence in Oasis shirts that are selling. So here we've got it sorted from highest price first. And Oasis shirts are really easy to spot because they have their name front and center, Oasis, really big on it. And again, I'm looking for ones that I'm seeing that are selling over and over again. It's the same shirt, but you still want to follow that rule of the single stitch. That's going to make it vintage and older. And if you find one, it's worth just taking a quick scan of it and see if it's something that's selling for a good profit. So this blue Some Might Say concert shirt has been selling. This one sold for $652, this one for $1,400. And I've seen a couple of this one as well, this vintage North American tour shirt. So there's that one there. And when I scroll down, I see it again here. As I'm continuing to search, it looks like the Some Might Say is a big one to look for, and this Oasis 1998 tour shirt as well. There are lots more in there, so I would say if you see Oasis, then take a look at it, see if you see the single stitching, and scan it. I mean, it doesn't take any time at all to do a Google image search or to take a picture and upload it to eBay and have it search by your shirt. When I was researching this video, I really had to decide whether or not to include these because I know it is partially because of what's recently happened with Ozzy Osborne passing away. And I know that these shirts are probably selling hot anyway because of Ozzy and Black Sabbath, but I know there is a big uptick because people are wanting to pay homage to him and buy his merch, and they want to have a piece of that. And I get that when somebody means so much, you want to have a piece of that. So there is an uptick in this. So it's something to think about. You know, if you've got something that you haven't listed yet and a big event happens with that person, whether they're going on tour or a band's getting back together or there's a tragedy, these are opportunities. I know some people might feel that it's profiting off of someone's misery, but at the same time, you're also sharing an item that somebody else is looking for that really wants to show respect for that person. So you can choose how you want to look at it, but either way, Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne shirts are selling really well right now. Black Sabbath shirts, 3,100 sold in the last 90 days. That's a lot of shirts in the last 90 days. And this one is just for Black Sabbath. We have Ozzy, I put Ozzy separate. So here we've got Black Sabbath shirts. This one sold for $1,000. Here are a couple double-sided Black Sabbath Blue Oyster Cult shirts. This one, as you can see though, is the same seller. So I want to find out if I see that one again. One of the things I'm noticing on the Black Sabbath shirt are these 3/4 sleeve shirts. I've seen a number of these that have sold. Whether they have the same design or not, I'm noticing a pattern of those 3/4 sleeves. And I've also noticed a number of these Heaven and Hell shirts that have sold that it's got that green cross on it. Let's take a look at recently sold for Black Sabbath just to see what kind of things are popping up. I like to look at recently sold so I can see those high ticket priced shirts mixed in with some that are reproductions, but I can still get a good idea of if I find a vintage or just a regular Black Sabbath shirt at a thrift store or garage sale and I don't have time to look it up and I want to pay $1 for it, is it worth it? So it looks like even if it's not an authentic vintage shirt, you can still make a profit on the shirt that you get because Black Sabbath is one that seems to be selling well, whether it's vintage or it's new. But definitely the Black Sabbath vintage shirts, especially these 3/4 sleeve shirts, are doing really well. So if you see one of those, definitely pick it up. Next up is Alice in Chains. Again, it's the 90s. If you know anything about the 90s, grunge was big. I guess Alice in Chains it falls into that grunge, that Seattle, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, that whole scene. But let's take a deeper dive into Alice in Chains shirts that are selling for well over $100. Right off the bat, one of the shirts that I'm noticing that is selling over and over again is this Alice in Chains Wonderland shirt and also this Jar of Flies. But as I scroll down, I'm seeing multiple shirts from different concerts from Alice in Chains that are selling for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I've seen a few of this Sick Man shirt that have sold for over $500 and a number of the shirts from Dirt that has this sun on it. You see it here, you see it here, you see it here with that sun design. It seems really consistent that those 90s bands are really selling well. You're going to see a few more of those coming up. So those grunge 90s bands, start thinking about what other bands were really big there. I know in the 10 vintage categories that sell well, in the comments, I had a few people sharing other bands like Sublime that were also selling well to be on the lookout for. Next, we're circling back to Ozzy. I wanted to make the distinction between Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osborne because not everybody knows that Ozzy Osborne was the singer for Black Sabbath. And if that was something that you didn't know, you might not realize that that's a shirt that could sell really well. But if you find an Ozzy Osborne shirt, these are also ones that are selling really well right now. 1,900 sold in the last 90 days. And right off the bat, I'm seeing that tattoo all over shirt multiple times. There's one here, $700 with best offer accepted. And then here are two others that sold for over $650. And it seems like the tattoo all over shirt is the one that I'm seeing that is selling for the most profit consistently over and over again on eBay for Ozzy Osbourne. Another one that keeps popping up is this Ozzy Osbourne's Dove's Revenge. Here it is sold for $499 with best offer taken, and here for $500. Again, different sellers. And here it is again that sold for $472. So keep your eyes open for Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath. Next up is Red Hot Chili Peppers. They were really hot, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I guess they're probably still playing. Are they still playing? Probably. Red Hot Chili Peppers. This was the classic shirt that I saw the boys in high school wearing, right? I'm noticing a few sellers have this vintage Red Hot Chili Peppers 80s shirt. So there's that one there, that one there. This is before they got super popular and hit mainstream. But here it sold for $2,000 and here it sold for $1,800. I'm also noticing the Picasso t-shirt. This one sold for $1,900 with best offer taken. And here again for $1,200 with best offer taken from a different seller. And then this is the Blood Sugar Sex Magic shirt that has sold multiple times. You see it here, 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 all different sellers, over $1,000 on those two, and best offer taken. So in the probably $800 to $900, I'm guessing, on these over here. Once again, with the Red Hot Chili Peppers shirts, you're going to see, especially this one, because it's so iconic for their band, there's going to be reproduction shirts of that. So you want to check those stitches for the single stitch versus the double stitch. We're sticking with the 90s, we're sticking with the grunge, so we're looking at Pearl Jam vintage concert shirts. There have been 1,400 sold in the last 90 days, but let's take a look at which ones we really want to hone in on that are bringing the biggest amount of profit. My search is Pearl Jam shirt. I have this sorted by highest first, and I am looking for repeat shirts. The first shirt that I'm seeing that I am noticing multiples of the same shirt is this Pearl Jam Choices. It looks like this one right here. This one, $447 best offer taken, and this one, $399. This is another one I remember seeing a lot from friends. $395 on this one, $359 with best offer taken there. And here are more from Choices, multiple different sellers, $350, $348, and another for $350. It seems like that's the one that's the most consistent seller for that $300+ price point. Another thing to look for with these vintage shirts is the tag. It could be a Fruit of the Loom tag like this, but for those vintage shirts, you will usually see a tag. If it's printed on the inside, on the back of the shirt, that's something that started much later. So if you're finding a shirt that's got that printed, the sizing and all of that printed on the inside of the shirt, that's probably not going to be one of the higher ticket item ones. You're going to want to see one that has a tag in it like this. Next on the list is Metallica. I did a search for a vintage Metallica shirt. 1,700 sold in the last 90 days. And right off the bat, that all over print load shirt is selling for $1,500 here. And when I scroll down, I see three more, $800, $800, $760. And these are all different sellers. Enter Sandman was a really big tour. That album was super big when I was in high school. So here you see 5 Enter Sandman shirts that have sold for well over $500, $600. It's got this old man on it, Metallica written real big. And once again, you'll see single stitch. Let's see what the tag looks like on the inside of this, because I think it's really important when you're looking. So for their shirt, they have a Metallica tag inside of it, but you notice it's not printed, which I don't know if that's super unusual, but you can see like right off the bat, Metallica, made in the USA, 100% cotton, but it's not printed. And there again, you can see that single stitching. It does not have that double row of stitches. All right, grab your flannel. We're heading back to the 90s. Soundgarden. Soundgarden, there are 565 shirts that have sold in the last 90 days. And while that's not as many as some of these others that have sold in the thousands, it's good to keep in mind that that same genre of shirts, whether it's Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, all of those from that region, that Seattle, grunge, all of those bands that came out of that area and that were big during this time are ones that you should really keep an eye out for because people are buying those right now. So I'm noticing multiple of the super unknown shirts that are selling, 1,500 on this one. And when I scroll down, here's two others in the $1,400 range for the super unknown 1994 tour. And while there are other Soundgarden shirts that are selling, it looks like this is the one I'm seeing most frequently selling for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on eBay. While there are so many other vintage concert band shirts that could be added to this list, I'm ending our list with 9 Inch Nails. Leave a comment and let me know which bands you would have liked to see on this list or ones that you've noticed are selling really well lately. But 9 Inch Nails is another one that was really big. I'm noticing the Woodstock shirt, 1994, is selling for a lot of money, $2,000, $2,100 over here. Again, multiple sellers. Here we've got $2,000 again, $1,800 on this one. And then again, as we're scrolling, there are 4 different sellers here for this same shirt for the Downward Spiral 9 Inch Nails tour. Another vintage shirt of theirs that I'm seeing sell pretty consistently is this Further Down tour shirt from 1995. Here's one that sold for $799, and then another here for $729. Some of those things to be looking for are those single stitches and then the tag you're looking for, Fruit of the Loom or Screen Stars, or like with Metallica, it had their very own tag. Also, that shirt is going to probably feel a little rough because back in the day, we didn't get those really nice soft t-shirts. They were pretty coarse. So it might not feel as soft as some of the shirts that you could buy today. And if you're following along with the 10 vintage categories that sell really well on eBay right now, next up is going to be vintage handbags. So there'll be a link here for you to click. And if you're wanting to go back and catch up on the rest of the videos, I'll have a playlist here for you as well. And if you've gotten any kind of value out of this video and this series, please leave me a comment and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me, helps my channel grow, and helps me bring more videos like this to help you become a more successful reseller. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.